As you can tell, I have a problem with moisture in my air compressor. It tends to build up a lot. Talked to Chris at Easy Air, got this package from him. It's a Desiccant air dryer system. Very simple to install. Let's put it together and see what we can do with it. Comes with instructions, Desiccant air dryer kit, assorted fittings, other tools, a bag of the Desiccant, airline, and that's it. Let's go through and sort out all the parts. So we got our airline, Desiccant, we got 2 blocks, assorted fittings, elbows, Teflon tape, hose cutter. Inside this box, we've got the part that hooks to this is a billet part, very nicely made. It's gonna hook to the top of the piece. We've got more Teflon tape, mounting bracket, another fitting for the bottom, more fittings, Desiccant bag, sorted parts, even came with a tool. Very nice. So let's get all this laid out and how we think we're going to set it up and use it and see what we can get designed for our use. I also needed to get this 2" by 36" black pipe with threaded ends. This is something else I had to grab, so I put this together. And on my setup, I've got the pipe, and I decided that I'm going to need, I went ahead and got some 1/4" air chucks that'll fit into these blocks. They'll just Teflon tape and then screw into these blocks. So I'll be able to put 4 fittings, 2 in each of these blocks, which will allow me to have outlets that I can move around the shop, put in different places. So that's gonna be a nice piece of the setup. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roughly put everything together, and then I'm gonna come back and actually put it together with Teflon tape and make sure it's sealed and tight. This is gonna be the piece I think I'm gonna hook to the air compressor, so I got a chuck on there that'll chuck straight into that. This is a 1/4" line adapter for the push fitting, so I'll be able to run a piece of line between here and here, and then here to here. Got a shut-off valve before it. Then after it's gonna come out, I'll probably put another 90 here to go down, and then figure out where I'm gonna put these two. Since I've got a T fitting, I'm gonna probably put this down here. I'll add I think at this point, I'm gonna add a shut-off valve to this one, which I've got plenty of fittings. This kit came with a lot of fittings that are gonna work out great for what my use is. Another push connector. I'm gonna need a push connector here in this side. I'm probably gonna put this maybe further away from the system so I can move my lines apart. So that gives me everything, and I think I actually have a leftover push connector. So if everything worked out right, only thing I had to purchase for this so far is these 2 chucks and these 2 valves, which I got them off Amazon. They were pretty cheap. So, so far I think this layout's gonna work. I think this is gonna go up in here somewhere like this. I need to figure out what I'm gonna mount this to, because I'm gonna mount my system to some sort of backer plate, because I wanna be able to move it. I wanna mount the whole thing as one piece and then mount it to the wall. This may be the only piece that's mounted separate somewhere else. I'll make a separate piece, because it'll just be connected by a piece of hose here. So let's see what we're missing and see if I can start putting some of this together. Figure out my shape and my form. I just kind of drawing this out on the table to make sure I'm going to get everything in the size I need, so I have an idea of what size backer plate I'm looking for. Kind of roughly lay it out, just to kind of get a visual of what I'm looking for. And once I measure it, then I'll find a piece. Found this piece of metal I had laying around. It's a little bit smaller than my drawing, but I figured out it would work. So now I'm just transferring everything over to it, getting it cut out, and I'll get it cleaned up, ready to go so I can mount all these pieces to it. I marked out the holes and drilled them for this main part to make sure everything's going to work right. So I need this as the main piece that's going to hook to the system. So I've got the head mounted. Now that I've got everything else on there, I mount one piece at a time, get them all marked out, drill the holes for it. And once I have all the holes and everything mounted to the plate, then I can take it all back apart and clean it all up. Here I decided to make a mount to hold the pipe with a pipe clamp, and so just to kind of hide it, I was going to make this bracket. I ended up cutting it out with a plasma cutter, and I should have cut it in two pieces. It would have been a lot easier to put together. I ended up trying to bend this and then add a top to it. It took me a lot longer than it should have to do what it's doing. It turned out okay in the end, but it was a lot of extra work that I didn't actually need to do. Let's go ahead and assemble everything. Start by putting this push connector into the main on the inlet side of the headpiece. Go ahead and screw this in with Teflon tape. It's already on it. And I used a wrench here to tighten it down a little bit. You don't really have to tighten this very tight. Just be very careful not to mess up the threads on the inside of this. It is a piece of billet aluminum, so you have to be a little bit careful. You don't want to ding it up or mess up those threads. So once I get that piece in, then I'll put the outlet side, which is the filter. And it's just a plastic filter with a mesh in it. So it's a lot easier to put in. You don't need to tighten it with a wrench. Just hand tight on it should be fine. This is all inside the system, so none of these pieces you really wouldn't know if they're leaking or not. So it's not that important that they're super tight. And so this piece goes on the outlet side. And then now we're going to attach the air hose. Just pushes into the push connector here. This piece was already cut to the size that it needed to be, and the bottom of it, you can see I'm putting a push connector on here, which actually has another filter on it, and this will be at the bottom of the pipe that we're adding it inside. So once this is put together, I have the top and the bottom ready to go, so these can just be slid into the pipe. And now I'll just put the piece in the bottom. So this is the bottom piece cap, and it came with this insert plug, and it also came with a little bit of anti-seize that I'm going to put on here just to keep it from sticking later. It's a good thing to do when you have dissimilar metals. But put this on here because this is a piece that needs to be removed, and so it goes in and out. It's also got an O-ring on it, so it should seal nice. So just be, like I said, be careful when you start the threads. Once you get it going, it's good. This one I tighten with the wrench that it came with. It really doesn't need to be super tight. And so then now everything's ready to assemble to the 2" by 36" pipe that we got. Installing it into the pipe is pretty easy. It's just a matter of adding some Teflon tape to the end of this pipe, which I always have a hard time for some reason, making sure I put this on the right direction. Once you get it put on, don't be, use a lot of Teflon tape because it's better for the seal and it's going to be easier. You don't want leaks in this system. So then you just slide this filter and tube inside the pipe until you get to the end, and then the headpiece is ready to insert. When you start to put this piece on, be careful and make sure that you don't just tighten it. It should spin freely onto the threads to start with. And once you get it on there, and just make sure you don't cross thread anything. And once it starts, it should turn a couple turns easily. And on this piece, I actually, because of the ears on it, was able to tighten it, I think, tight enough without even using a wrench. So now I'm going to move on to adding all the accessory pieces. This is a 3/8" valve that I had bought, a ball valve. And so I'm going to put this on, tighten it down with a wrench, get it in position where I want it to be, and hopefully it won't leak. It should be good. I put enough Teflon tape on it, I think. So got this in place, and we'll move on to the rest of the pieces. I added this to the inlet side thinking that I'll be able to shut off the air from the compressor to this if I do need to drain this system or do anything to it. That way I don't have to necessarily disconnect it from the air compressor. Once again, add Teflon tape to everything you use. This is a push connector. These are aluminum, so you need to be a little bit careful putting these on. You need them to be tight, but you don't want to over tighten this because you could bend that fitting and it'll kind of knock it out of round if you're not careful. Now that we got everything on there, I'm going to go ahead and measure a piece of tubing for this. This is going to be a short piece of tubing because I'm going to put that 90-degree elbow on here. So I just measure it, and with the included cutters, which work pretty easy, you just kind of line it up and push down and twist it. You go ahead and cut a piece of tubing here so I can actually mount this piece. And this should be it for this inlet side until I get to the piece where I actually run it to the compressor. So it actually took me a lot longer to cut this first piece than it needed to be. You may need to heat this tubing up just a little bit to kind of straighten some of it out. It's pretty cold, but the push connectors work great. Very easy to use. They're also, you can just push that ring back in that's on it and take them back apart if you need to. So here we basically are moving to the other side, and we're doing the same thing. We're going to add the fittings that we need to add, and then add the piece of tubing and the 90, so we have everything lined up the way we want for the top of this. And this will pretty much complete the top end of this assembly process for this piece. Now that I have the top assembled, we're going to move on to doing all the external pieces. So these blocks are really nice. They're splitters, which allow me to put in these two quick connects. I was calling them chucks. That's because that's what I call them, but most people call these quick connects. And these are just 1/4-inch quick connects with a push fitting put in the end of it. So I got both of those set up, ready to go. Now I'm going to add the sight glass piece to the top. You have to be a little bit careful with this piece. You don't want to break anything on it. It's also aluminum. It fits in there nice. Use enough Teflon tape to get it tight, and then get it lined up and smooth, ready to go. I don't think I mentioned that I sanded this pipe before I started assembly, and then now I taped everything off that I needed covered, and I'm going to get it painted. Now that we got everything cleaned up, adjusted, ready to go, I think it's about time that we tear this thing off, get it ready to reassemble everything. So go ahead and take off all the tape here that we put on while we were painting it. Kind of protect all the pieces that we didn't want to paint. See how we did. So. All right. Let's see if we can get all these pieces put back together. Get this lined up where it belongs. Line up my holes, put in all the bolts, get everything put back together. I just wanted to make this plate so it'd be easy to move this piece if I need to move it or change it out. I kind of wanted everything to be attached. Makes it a little easier than having to attach a bunch of different things to the wall. So we'll get this put back together. Once I get these bolts in, get this piece bolted down, then I'll get all the other pieces bolted on, then we'll have this thing ready to go. We'll put the bottom on it and hang it all on the wall. Should be a simple process to set it back up and get it all working. Hopefully we don't have any leaks. Like I said, I should have pressure tested this before I put it back together, but we'll find out the hard way. If we did a good job and put enough Teflon tape on everything, we will have no issues with air leaking anywhere, and I think our system will look pretty good. So the nice thing about this system is with these push connectors, makes it easy to install the lines. And I think I've got mine laid out where I've got my lines where they're going to be easy to hook up, easy to install, and which should make it easier to maintain in the long run. Let's see here. Just gotta put these on, tighten this stuff down. Yeah, and there's another one. Can't get to those back ones. I'll have to do those from the bottom. can't really hold those. That should work. Then we're gonna have this piece mounts here. I think this one mounts up here, so let's go ahead and see if we can't get this put in there. This one I think I'm gonna leave loose for right now because I'm gonna need to make the hoses that go between them. Now I need to go ahead and cut the pieces to make this fit. So I'm gonna measure at about 3 inches. I need to cut 3 inches off of here. Measure and mark your tubing. And I'll cut this down. Using this pipe cutter that came with it works pretty good. It's a simple process. Just push on it and turn it a little bit, and it'll snap right off. Does a pretty good job of cutting it. May need to heat this up just a little bit to get it straight. Like I said, on this one, I'm gonna pull that out. We're gonna put this one in. Make sure I don't need to adjust it. I may need to shorten it just a hair. Yep, we're gonna have to shorten that just a touch. Oh no, we're not. It's gonna work. As long as I can get the bolts in there, we're fine. Put the last bolt in, get this thing bolted up, and that way these pieces will be held in place pretty good. Nothing's going to move around. Make sure those caps are out. I've got an off valve here that works good, allows me to turn it on and off. Now I just need to run from here to here. This one's going to be a little different because it's going to be a little bent. So what I may do on this one is actually push it in, then measure and cut it. Probably going to be the easier way to do it. So if I put this in here, make sure I get it in all the way. Then I can measure up here how I kind of want it to run. I don't want to kink it and I don't want it to be too stiff on the straight line. We're going to want it to run about like that. Let me mark it where I think it's going to need to be cut. And then we'll come back and just cut it. See if we got it right. It's kind of nice on this is it's got a little line in here that you can see that you can line up with your mark. And once you get your mark line, open it up, get your mark lined up, then you can set it in place and then just kind of snap through it all. And it's pretty easy to cut. Just turn this in place. Let that get on there. That one went in good. Maybe a little too much. All right, now the other side, we're gonna end up putting a piece and it's gonna run down to the compressor. So we're gonna wait on that piece until we get done mounting the rest of this. And the same with this one. This piece is gonna come out here somewhere down the line. We'll put a line between these two, mount this to the wall. I may put another plate underneath it like I did this backer plate here, but I probably don't need to, depending on what I have in the wall to mount it on. But then I'll put the air line from here to here, and that'll connect that up, and from here we'll go into the back side of the compressor. I've got an adapter plate that I've made that we'll use that piece over here. So let's go ahead and get this bottom put on, and we should be getting ready to hang this thing. So we got the tape on, we got our piece. We're gonna take some tape around this piece just so we don't mar it up so bad when we get ready to tighten it up with the wrench. That way we can take that back off there. Make sure everything's clean in here. Inside looks good. Now we're gonna put this on. So let's get this piece started. And these threads should start easy. You should never fight the threads at first. They should go on pretty far before you even feel much pressure on them, on this type of pipe.
This pipe clamp really helps. Got this thing really tight, so then I'm not fighting with having to hold the pipe and the fixture. I'm just holding the fitting here. So I tighten it as much as I can by hand. And these threads seem to be really smooth, so it seems to work pretty good.
I use channel locks instead of a pipe wrench here. If you've got a pipe wrench big enough, you can put this on with it. I was just afraid it was going to mar up the end a little more than I wanted. Now I'm just measuring out where my placement on the wall is going to be. So I'm using a ruler to measure out the holes, setting a level on there, getting them all marked, getting the bottom hole for the clamp marked, and I should be ready to go.
Now that we got everything marked out, let's go ahead and put this in. We're going to mount this bracket first. Got it bent out enough to kind of let that slide in there. Get my screw ready. We're gonna put one of these screws in. See if we can do this one-handed. Because we're gonna have to level this thing back out. So I think right here, that's gonna slide in there. Then we can make sure that we're roughly level and come up just a little bit. So I need to, this is hanging a little crooked, so it's going to sit about right there. That's good. Now we'll take our cross bolt. One of these sides has a square on it, so that's the side you know it goes on. And we'll get a little wrench and tighten this up. There, got the installation complete. Now it's ready to run the line to the compressor and hook up the compressor. Let's get the compressor set in the hole, get a line run to it. Then we can pressure test the whole thing. Got this kind of roughly marked out. I'm gonna cut it a little long, and that way, if I need to adjust it, I can. This thing in the cutter right. That cut off. So then we've got a push connector into this quick connector that's going to go in the back side of the compressor. So I should be able to put the push connector in, get it good, and then I can actually push this in, load that up right there. I think I'm going to put maybe one of these pieces up here somewhere to hold this down in place so it doesn't have any movement, and that way if anything pulls on this, it's not going to yank this piece out up here, because these aren't going to be very strong up here at the top. I don't want to get a lot of pressure on them, so we'll see what leaks.
Tying this down in place with the hold down that's included in the kit. There's several of these included in the kit, which makes it nice so you can mount these wherever you need to. And I'm going to add this extra block over here on this side. I'm probably going to later move this and maybe extend it further across my shop, depending on where I want to put it. But for now, I'm just going to put everything together, and that way I can leak test it, make sure everything's good. Like I said, this system's very nice and easy to rearrange or move later on, which is probably going to be something that I'll end up doing. But for right now, I'm going to get this in place and get the whole system running.
Plug in a quick connect hose here. Very simple. Or I'll be able to put them in over here. Works good. So, all right. Made me a makeshift funnel out of a water bottle since I couldn't find my funnel that would fit this. So we got that, and we're going to load some desiccant in it. kit came with these color changing beads that you put in the top. So this sight window here, we can see through there, and this color will change as it gets more moisture built up in here, so you know when to go ahead and dry this stuff out. The nice thing is you can dry this stuff out and reuse it. So let's go ahead and add this. Just want to use a brush and kind of clean out any beads that are in the threads. I don't want those to get stuck in there when I put the seal back in. And the seal, you have to be real careful with the seal, because this piece right here has to be lined up perfectly flat with the front, because these things are machined so tightly, this piece won't actually screw down with that. Oh, there must be something in there with that front piece on there. So try to, I think I still got a little bit of that in the thread. All right. Let's see if this goes in this time. Because these pieces are machined so nicely that they should hand screw most of the way in, and then you can use the wrench to get them the rest of the way. But they shouldn't take much pressure to turn them. And it really doesn't take much, but this one's got an O-ring on it. I didn't find that it needed to be overly tightened. So this is a heavy duty wrench right here, and you don't really need to use its full force to tighten this thing down, because I can pretty much tighten it as tight as it needs to be with the short end without even flipping it over. So, because it doesn't need to be bottomed out too tight, you blow out that O-ring. So there we go. Everything's loaded, everything looks good. I can see from the top, I can see the color changing beads. There we go, we've got the color changing beads. You can see they're in there. We'll be able to tell when they need to be changed. So there we go, easy install, system's ready to go.
I really like how the system was designed. It's flexible, easy to do, and plus in the future it's going to be easy to expand or change without having to redo everything that I've got. I'm going to easily be able to upgrade my compressor or move fittings around the shop with just a little extra hose and maybe a few extra fittings. If you'd like to add a system like this to your shop as well, go to easyairUSA.com and you can use my code TimStuffEZ at checkout for a 15% discount. I'll have all the links in the description below. Once again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.